Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 2 of the Change Your Mind podcast. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, well, Owen, I can see you. You're on a video, which means it's one of your YouTube videos. Well, you're right. It is one of my YouTube videos, but also it happens to be the very first episode of the second season of the podcast. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to also make sure that so for those of you who saw it last season, all of you and those of you listening right now, you will all know that last season we had an episode on Monday and an episode on Thursday. And the Thursday episode was either the Work Of series, where I went through the work of some legend in the field of personal development or professional development. And every other Thursday was an interview I did with somebody. But on the Monday, we did solo episodes where I talked about a specific topic that I felt was useful or relevant for you. And I went through it and gave you some of my own insights over the years of researching and working in the field. So the Monday episodes are also going to be available on YouTube. Now, I might stick in occasionally extra stuff into the podcasts, on iTunes, so that you have a reason to go there. So even if you're watching it on YouTube, please download the podcast on iTunes as well, because it's good for my statistics. And isn't it nice just to help other people out while simultaneously helping yourself out? Of course it is. So you might be asking, well, Owen, you're doing a video. How long are these going to be? Probably between 15 and 20 minutes, more or less. Some might be less than 15, some might be more than 20. But overall, I'm going to get it around about the 15, 20 minute range, I expect. And therefore, although there's not as much to listen to, perhaps, as there was for the first episodes last year, you'll also have the chance to tune in. Now, why around that length? Well, even 15, 20 minutes of you looking at me, don't get me wrong. I'm far from an eyesore, if you get what I mean. But even taking a little bit of time out of your day to sit down and watch 20 minutes can sometimes feel or seem a lot if you're just looking at someone, no matter how good looking, if you're just looking at someone talking to you. But I figured I want you to think about me and you are having a conversation and you're being very quiet in this conversation, right? So you're not talking too much in it. And that's how I want you to think about these things, because I'm speaking directly to camera. I'm not talking to some imaginary person here or there. I'm speaking directly to camera. And I just want to make sure that you feel like I'm speaking directly to you, so you can feel like this is one-to-one sort of stuff each week with me. So anyway, what's today about? Today is about conquering the slump. What do I mean by the slump? Well, I know there's a lot of you out there, and I know that you set New Year's resolutions, and perhaps maybe you've fallen off the wagon a little bit. You've slipped back into the old habits. I know that it's something that I used to do myself. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about the slump. And sometimes the slump isn't even just stopping to do to actually fulfill on your New Year's resolution. Sometimes the slump is you just, in a January slump. You're not too fan. You had such a great time over the holidays or over Christmas. And now all of a sudden it's January and you're like, oh, January, oh God, January. And so what I want to do is make sure that I show you some tools at how to get back on track. So this episode is Conquering the Slump, how to get back on track. And so without any further ado, let's get into it. So you set your New Year's resolutions. It's January 1st and you say, right, this is the year, 2020. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the other. I'm going to create all the different things that I wanted to create. I'm going to have the perfect body. I'm going to eat really good food for me. I'm going to go to bed before 10. I'm going to stop binging on too many TV series. I'm going to get out of the bad habits. I'm going to dump the people that I don't want in my life and all that sort of jazz. And that's understandable. The trouble is, though, is that we try to do a lot all of a sudden instead of really thinking that there are different types of goals. Now, a few weeks ago, I did on New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, actually, I did a Facebook Live or Instagram Live. One of them, Facebook Live, Instagram Live. I can't even remember which one it was. I think it was Instagram Live. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I did one of those live things. And on it, I was talking about different types of goals. And some of the goals I was talking about are as follows. You have achievement goals, which are the standard goals that, we all set in our mind. And the achievement goals are, I want to achieve this. So I want to get this specific result. You also, though, have what we call state goals, which is, in this situation, I want to start to feel this. So it might be let's say, for example, it's, you're talking about speaking in public. And what you want to do is you want to feel confident and comfortable speaking in public. So that becomes a state goal. or an emotion goal. Another one would be, again, similar. You might want to be more comfortable in terms of at parties. So once again, you're thinking about a particular situation, particular context, particular time where you want to feel a certain way. And that's a state goal. So we have achievement goals. I want to get this result. We have state goals, which is I want to feel this feeling in that context. But we've also got lifestyle goals or discipline goals. Sometimes you would know them as. And a discipline goal is, this is what I want to start to do every single day. So we all brush our teeth every day. You better brush your teeth every day, at least once a day, if not twice a day. We all shower every day. Are you sharing every day? Are you sure? So we all do these things. And there's a lot of stuff that we do without even thinking. They become habits or routines in our life. But it's really important when we're deciding to make shifts in our life that we don't just make, big shifts in one area, but we start to build all the little things, Like Jim Rohn said, success is a bunch of smaller disciplines practiced every day. And so it's really vital for you to understand what are the disciplines that you need to have in your life that you do regularly every single day or every single week that will lead to you to being more successful. Is that writing 1 hour a day? Is that reading 1 hour a day? Is that meditating for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day? Is it doing yoga every morning? Is it waking up at 6 a.m. every day? Like, what is it? Cold showers? I mean, there's an infinite array of different possibilities. But what are the disciplines? And so when we're talking about conquering the slump, the reason why we're in the slump in the first place is because it's almost like we're running a campaign instead of building a life. And so what's really important is that we need to start to build a life for ourselves. And a life is full of lifestyle choices, decisions that we make of what we're going to do on a regular basis. So when you do all those things, there's a reason why you brush your teeth regularly. There's a reason why you shower regularly. And so what's vital is that we start to make those things natural parts of the way in which we work. Create habits and routines out of the disciplines that you want to engage in. So you've got achievement goals, you've got emotion or state goals, and then you've got lifestyle goals. And then the fourth one is skill goals. And skill goals are, what are the skills you want to be able to learn over the course of the next while? And so similar to achievement, you have a certain deadline of when you want to have finished specific courses. But again, you're continuously evolving and working on it. And so more like discipline or lifestyle goals, you want to factor in time each day or each week for you to spend time learning or developing in that area. So for example, you could choose to do an online course, which will soon be available to you, where you want to be able to master your ability to be able to be better at influencing other people or communicating with other people. You might want to be able to learn a certain language, like the language of influence, or Spanish or Italian or Japanese or Russian or French or German or, you name it, Arabic. You might want to get to the point where you're learning to ski or you're learning to, learning to dance, a particular type of dance, whatever you're into, whatever floats your boat. Is that the right expression? Floats your boat? Yeah, it is. Whatever rocks your boat, whatever doesn't rock your boat, whatever floats your boat, whatever pulls your chain, whatever sings or shines your shoes. I'm going to stop with the metaphors because they're just getting ridiculous at this point. Apologies. So what I'm trying to say is that it's important when we're conquering the slump and getting back on track, that we're aware of the different types of goals that we have for ourselves. So we have the achievement goals, we have the state goals, we have the lifestyle goals, and we also have the skill or achievement goals. Now there's a few other things that I want to throw in here in terms of getting back on track. The first is, I want you to stop and think to yourself, right, you build all those different goals, you set yourself all these different goals, and then you decide, right, in order to make sure that I'm executing regularly these lifestyle disciplines, in order to make sure that I'm learning this skill, in order to make sure that I'm changing the way I feel in that situation, in order to make sure I'm making progress towards my achievement, what are the things I need to do? And that's when you put them into your schedule. Now, your schedule is the most important thing that you need to start to focus on, because so often we put like meetings in our schedule, but we don't put these actions in our schedule. And you need to start to build a more organized, a more systematic way of ensuring that you will reach the goals that you want. I was asked recently in an interview, well, if I could go back to when I was like 18 years old and give myself one piece of advice, what would it be? And I really do think the piece of advice I give myself is create systems and processes that make everything that you do easy and automated. And we're living in a world nowadays where we can do that with technology more simply than ever. Soon I'll be talking about technology and the challenges and the perils of, what happens when technology goes wrong. But suffice it to say for now that if you learn to use technology and you learn to leverage it to be able to help you to improve your life, it can have hugely positive repercussions about how well and you do and how likely you are to achieve all of the different results that you want. Now, something else that I want to talk to you about is the importance of planning ahead for the potential failures that might arise whenever you try to implement things. So already, for example, if we're talking about a slump or getting back on track, it means something pushed you off track. Now, don't tell me that whatever it was that pushed you off track is something that you couldn't have prepared for, that you couldn't have figured out, oh, hang on a second, that might happen. Of course you could. Most of the bad things that are likely to pull us off whatever it is that we want to achieve are the exact same things that we know have done it to us in the past. So it's important for you to predict ahead of time what are the possible things or the potential things that might push us off where we want to be, and how can we prepare for them. So when this happens, then I'm going to do this. If that happens, then I'm going to do that. It's one of the most important things. We predict it. I call them New Year's pre-solutions, because we're preparing to have a solution for whatever the potential adversity or problem or challenge that might crop up is. And it's a really, really important way of dealing with it, because things aren't going to go as smoothly as we would ideally want them to go. And because they're not going to go as smoothly, we need to be able to factor that in, to think intelligently about it, and to make sure that it works for us. And so that's one of the things that we need to consider, and we need to really factor in if we want to be more effective, if we want to achieve the kinds of things that we want. The other thing is the excuses we make. And the excuses we make are all the reasons why we say we can't do something, all the things that we say that are going to get in our way. And there's an infinite array of these different things. We say, oh, well, this will happen. Oh, well, that'll happen. The truth of the matter is that you can either allow the problems that occur become excuses or become reasons to succeed. You can either allow adversity become an excuse or become a reason to succeed. You decide. And so the reason I say you decide is because we all take the experiences that we have and we choose to interpret them in a certain way. In other words, we give meaning to the experiences that happen to us, good and bad. And if you give a different meaning to the bad experience, it can transform your life. So, for example, if you get sick, if you're on this brilliant exercise regime and then all of a sudden you get a flu and you're like, oh, I'm dying of the flu. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to be okay, but I got the flu. Oh, I'm dying. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll milk a flu like the best one. Man flu is definitely the most vicious of all the flus. And I'll milk it, until the cows come home, and then they'll continue on the milking. I don't know what's happening with Metaphors today. But the point is that I'll milk my flu. But as soon as I'm starting to feel better, I immediately will go. Even if I go to the gym and do some stretches and then walk home, I need to get back into that routine. I need to make sure that I'm straight away back on it. And I used the flu as reason that my body was allowing me to relax so that it fires me up and gives me the energy I need to get straight back on track. So you give the meaning that you need to whatever stops you or gets in your way or prevents you from doing what it is that you need to do. The reality is that when we compared, and I've said this before, but discipline versus motivation. Motivation is when you feel like doing something. Discipline is when you do it anyway. And so I want you to recognize that your ability to be able to get the job done is determined by the discipline that you decide to have. So you decide that this is what I'm going to do. And so it's really imperative from your side to make sure that you're taking care of it, because there's a million different distractions that can take you off. Nir Eyal, in his book Indistractable, he talks about, and it's a great book, but he talks about the fact that we're either making progress on something or we're going away from something. And what he says is you want to really create traction in your life. So you're moving towards traction is when you're doing the kinds of things you need to do to get the results you want. And distraction is moving away from what you need to do. And so it's really important for you to start to be aware of where your time is going and to make sure that you're making a commitment to get that time back on track so it aligns with your achievement goals, your state goals, your lifestyle goals, and your skill goals. And to make sure that the kind of life that you want to design for yourself is getting you the results you need. Now, I'll say one more thing, and that is There's a lot of stuff that you have in your life. You might be saying, well, that's well and good for you, Owen. Just walking around and wherever you are, doing whatever you have to do because you got lots of... You don't have like kids and you don't have a full-time, family to take care of. I'm like, listen, you're right. And the truth of the matter is we're all busy in different ways. So I pack my time full of stuff, which is why I'm busy a lot. And you do too. And you will prioritize your family. Of course you will. But what's really vital is that you recognize if you don't prioritize your own improvement, if you don't prioritize your own development, if you don't prioritize you getting better, if you don't prioritize you organizing your time, then you're going to struggle with it. And I know that. I worked for 2 years on the time management program, Not Enough Hours, where I helped people to be able to prioritize their time better. And this was people that, they were in multiple jobs, part-time. They had a full-time job as well. They had a family that they were looking after. They cleaned the house, cooked the dinners, all that sort of stuff. But all of them recognized one thing, and that is you need to prioritize your relationship with time. You need to make decisions that transform the way in which you live and the way in which you spend time on an everyday basis. So getting back on track means that you've got to give yourself just a little bit of space, maybe even just a bit of time after this video or after listening to this podcast and going, right, okay, where am I off track? Where am I on track? And where you're on track, you make sure that you keep going on track. Where you're off track, you figure out, right, what is it that I need to do to get back on track? What is it that I need to do to stay on track? What tried to kick me off track in the past? And how can I prioritize dealing with that and making sure that I move forward in that way? And so to me, I really hope that you found something wise and some useful insights from this particular episode. I just wanted to start off with something that I think a lot of you could do with, and I've seen a number of you speaking about it, is that what happens when we slip off. And so I'm hoping that this will help you to jump straight back on and to move forward and to get the kind of results that you want. So once again, you're setting different types of goals. You're aligning your life so that you're building disciplines on a regular basis. You're remembering the power of discipline as opposed to motivation. You're preparing for any potential adversity that might knock you off. You're getting rid of the excuses that might have held you back, the things that might have stopped you. You're preparing to make sure that you're prioritizing using your time as wisely as possible. And when you do that, I truly believe you'll get back on track, you'll conquer the slump, and you'll start to make 2020 a fucking amazing year. So without any further ado, thank you very much for watching the very first video version of the podcast. And thank you so much to all of you loyal listeners for listening. Please keep reviewing. I very much value it and really appreciate it. And it makes me smile whenever I get a nice review. Whenever I get a nasty, I don't get many nasty reviews, but whenever someone says nasty shit online, it's not nice. But when people say like great stuff online, it's like, oh, wow. So I do feel legitimately delighted and wonderful and happy to hear positive things for you. But for now, happy February. Have a great week. I'll be back with you very soon. I'll be on Thursday. I have a wonderful interview coming up with a wonderful lady who I'll tell you about on Thursday, but she's terrific, really accomplished, successful. And then next Monday, I'm back with another video podcast. For now, happy 3rd of February. Take it easy. Bye-bye.